Hello there, so circle size, CS for short, is something everyone's already familiar with. In the difficulty settings tab of song select, I can move this option to modify the size of circles in an entire map. CS5 is default, CS2 is largest, and CS7 is smallest. Overall, mappers have a lot of freedom when it comes to circle size choice. Map set spreads conventionally use circle size to show progression, but there aren't actual restrictions on what circle sizes need to be used. For insane and expert difficulties, any circle size is perfectly rankable. CS2, CS7, doesn't matter. There is no objectively best circle size, though trends in CS usage would make you think otherwise. With help from Milan and the Osu API, I graphed the circle size values of all ranked maps and noticed some pretty clear patterns. Back in the early days of Osu, most maps used the default, CS5, and around 2010, favor shifted towards CS4, which has remained strong for 7 years now. Decimal values were introduced mid-2014, so a lot of new dots showed up, but most of them were still concentrated within half a unit of 4. While it may not be objectively superior in any way, CS4 is still undeniably the most popular value among insane and expert difficulties, and I think that popularity has affected how people view and create maps with other circle sizes. So to start, this map is average. It has no gimmicky gameplay elements, nor an interesting visual style. Everything about it is basic, and its only notable element, if you could even call it that, is its circle size. The map uses CS3, which is a good deal larger than the standard CS4. While undergoing the ranking process and receiving mods, one person commented on the map saying, "I don't think CS3 is necessary for this map because I didn't find any patterns that only fit big circles. I mean, if you change it to CS4, you can't find any uncomfortable things too, so I think it's better to change it to CS4 or CS3.5 at least." If you're actually reading the text here, English is not this guy's native language, but his point is clear. The map should use CS4 because nothing about it necessitates the irregular setting of 3. I admittedly didn't think much about his feedback at the time. My mindset was that CS was a subjective choice. A mapper should be able to use whatever value they want, so long as their map is well designed, which this map managed to be. Even though I disagreed with the modder here and responded saying, "No, I'm not going to change it," his comment always lingered in the back of my mind while creating maps, and I gradually grew to better understand his perspective. Let's talk a bit about expectations. Because so many maps use CS4, players comprehend and react to patterns with CS4 as a reference. Mappers, being accustomed to CS4 as well, think under similar conditions. CS5 and smaller forces mappers to think about the impact of less aim leniency and to form patterns with more clarity. Like, if you ask just about any mapper, they'll tell you that organized object composition is essential for small circles, even though it shouldn't make much of a difference. Cloyd, a mapper known for mapping exclusively with CS5, sets a good example for how this is done. All his patterns are compact, and any jump spam is clearly organized, unlike what we see often with CS4 maps. CS3 and bigger affects mappers on the same level. Mappers think about the relatively looser aim requirements and have less room to form patterns on the playfield than usual. Running out of screen real estate can easily become a problem with circles larger than the ordinary 4, so these maps can often end up overcrowded without strict control of object composition. As stated earlier, there is no correct circle size for a map. Any circle size can work if a map is well designed. However, that doesn't mean all circle sizes are equally effective. By playing into the expectations established by the widespread usage of CS4, mappers can create maps with irregular circle sizes that more strongly express their ideas. To show what I mean, let's analyze two maps, one CS2, the other CS7, and see how their circle size choices are vital to their designs. Handsome's rendition of the song Unravel is among the best CS2 maps out there in my opinion because of its movement-related gameplay gimmicks. Starting from the top, this map is nothing special. If anything, the huge circles seem unfitting at first with basic half-beat rhythms and standard object arrangements. CS4 would be perfectly appropriate for this. The purpose for CS2 shows its face at the end of this section though, with a stream of highly spaced circles, like circles that don't even overlap. CS2 makes people expect more aim leniency, and this stream is a hint at the extremes Handsome takes that player expectation to. As the song intensifies in the next section, Handsome introduces the idea that 4th beat rhythms are to be more than just continuous movements, like streams. Some will require quick snapping between highly spaced objects at a speed far higher than a normal map would require. If this were CS4, a player would need more aim control than they're used to, but because circles are massive, the weight of barely missing an object is partially taken off their shoulders. Adding to that is the other gimmick introduced in this section, unorthodox movement on reverse sliders. Most ordinary maps use slider movement that players find natural. Sliders lead into the following objects, sliders are held long enough to recover aim, or sliders are small enough to permit slider leniency abuse. For reverse sliders, the same general ideas usually apply. Either reverse sliders leading to the following objects, they're held long enough to recover aim, or they're small enough slider leniency abuse. Okay, cool. Handsome's reverse sliders, however, force the most uncomfortable type of movement possible. Sliders are too large to abuse slider leniency, so players actually need to follow their bodies. They're held for such a short time that recovering aim is impossible, and the next objects are in the opposite direction of the player's last motion. Again, handling movement like this is majorly uncomfortable, but lower aim requirements through bigger circles make it not so much of a burden. It's reasonable to play because there's more room for error. What I think truly necessitates CS2 on this map though is the gimmick used in the song's chorus. Highly spaced 4th beat circles and uncomfortable reverse sliders return, but there's also extreme differences in slider velocity. These tiny sliders are held for a relatively long time without any movement, while each 4th beat reverse slider is fast and requires high speed movement. What makes CS2 important here is the extreme variation in movement it permits. It allows players to realistically shoot their cursors across the screen at speeds you would never find in CS4 maps, and that's contrasted with sliders that require absolutely no movement. While Handsome theoretically could scale everything about the map down to CS4 and it theoretically wouldn't be much different to play, I think the map would be ruined because the majority of contrast and speed would be lost. The fast movement would be slower and the slow movement would remain unchanged. The amount of contrast and movement drastically decreases. CS2 allows more effective representation of the map's concepts, and CS4 would not be able to support it without requiring stupidly precise aim. So overall, I think Handsome made a solid choice by using CS2 here. On the other end of the spectrum, this is my map of the song, Super Anime Groove 3D World. Yeah, which uses CS7. In the same vein as Handsome's Unravel, this map wouldn't really work with any larger circle size because of the concepts it uses: screen region usage and slider body orientation to express phrases of the music. The first section of this song is relatively intense, and objects first appear in the top left portion of the playfield. Over the course of 4 measures, objects are placed only in the upper 2 screen quadrants and gradually move towards the right with all curved sliders pointing upwards. Then, during a transition between phrases, slider bodies have red anchors and lead a player in the other direction, ending at the bottom left quadrant. The song is relatively calm for the next 8 measures, so to express that, objects stay in the lower half of the screen while progressing to the right with all straight sliders pointing downwards. First section was upbeat, so it was at the top. The next section was less upbeat, so it's at the bottom. Make sense? Yeah. And after that, during another transition, the map goes from right to left, this time ending at the very bottom left corner. Distortion makes music practically inaudible here, but it slowly builds up to a climax at the chorus. And so, the map clearly represents that. The first 4 measures here gradually move objects towards the upper right, and sliders still point downwards. As the song becomes less distorted, sliders point upwards and objects steadily progress up and to the right more. When the song changes to an entirely half-beat rhythm, circles gradually build up from right to left, while continuing with the upwards motion, reaching a point at the end where nearly all instruments drop out from the song. After some unique sounds are expressed through horizontal symmetry in the bottom half of the screen, the song hits the chorus and objects are placed symmetrically in the 2 upper quadrants. Finally, at the most cathartic part of the chorus, all quadrant-based screen usage and slider body orientation goes out the window as objects are arranged to cover all parts of the screen equally and slider bodies point to any directions. This is like the most appropriate type of climax. What makes this map necessitate CS7 is simple. Larger circle sizes just don't allow screen region usage like this. With CS4, the map forces all objects to overlap each other, destroying the neat visual design and individual patterns. Trying to rearrange the map using the same concepts as CS4 would still look overcrowded since there's no practical way to move from the left side of the screen to the right without just running out of room. This map needs CS7 because its way of expressing the music is only possible with CS7. Therefore, I think it was another solid choice. So yeah, even if there is no objectively correct way to choose circle size and anything theoretically works, there are situations where weird circle sizes are more effective. Definitely more situations than these 2 examples, that's for sure. I've made a lot of maps with weird circle sizes in the past, but I now see that none of them really deserve their irregularities. They're just normal maps with normal design concepts meeting all the expectations of a CS4 map, but with a circle size that forces a different mindset during gameplay. It's not wrong per se, and I'm sure players enjoy the variation regardless. However, to me, it's just unnecessary. I consider maps that use circle size to complement their design most worthy of irregular circle sizes, and any map that's ordinary, honestly, might as well meet expectations and use CS4. That may be an unpopular opinion, but I hope you at least see where I'm coming from. Try to use circle size variation to more effectively express your mapping ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.